Wrestling Doctor here. This is Pro Wrestling Extras, the Wrestling Doctor's Prescription, vlog number 7. I'm hoping this will be going up at the same time that one of the best matches I've seen in quite a few years is up on Pro Wrestling Extra, and that's the United Pro Entertainment February 22nd, 2013 show. There was a match between John Davis, the FIP World Heavyweight Champion, against Hot Stuff Lance Alonte. One of the best matches I have viewed there in person, and I would say a good 2 to 3 years. Just an excellent match. Let me talk about what makes a great match, because I was there in person, in the crowd, experiencing exactly the same thing the fans were there. And let me tell you something, that was an electric match. You could feel it in the crowd. You could hear it in their yells, their cheers, the voices that it was going on. It was just unbelievable. Sitting there, seeing what happened. It actually began with an interview between the first and second match when the promoter, Kevin Cantrell, came out and did an interview with Lance Alonte, and he called out John Davis, and it was very apparent that this was something different than just a promo to talk about a match. This was something that came across more personal. John Davis said, you know, hey, I knew you, we trained together, we grew up in the business together. You know, my career went on, and I wrestled for ROH, I wrestled for WWE, I wrestled for Evolve, Dragon Gate USA, and you did nothing. You did not continue your career. You sat home and did nothing. You occasionally called me and asked how I was doing, and I would tell you and ask how you were doing, Lance, and you were doing nothing. He said, now you're back in there and you want me to wrestle you? I'll show you exactly what it means to me about wrestling and how serious I am. And he walked out, you know. A few insults to the St. Mary's people, which that's where it was, St. Mary's, Georgia. It set the tone for what was going to happen. They were the main event. You know, say when this match started, it was evident from the first minute how brutal this was going to be, because it was brutal. Take my word for it. Or just watch the match on Pro Wrestling Extra. It should be put up very soon. It's going to be a match, one match in its entirety on the webcast show, along with some post interviews I did with both of the participants, and get their views on what happened and what's in store for this particular feud. When it comes out, take a look at it. I think you're going to be amazed. You know, I've watched some of the greatest matches from years gone by, and I think this will hold up as one of them that will be talked about in the future. And if you can get your hands on it to hold on, it's one that you show your cousin that doesn't like professional wrestling because he makes fun of it. Let him see this match, and it could completely change his mind. You know, it brings me back to the days that it wasn't so much on television, and you had to go see the matches in Miami, Florida, back in the day in the 70s, when it was Jack Briscoe against Dory Funk for a 60-minute time limit draw. How that affected the people, and how the people came away after seeing that. It was just, you knew you had seen something special. And that's what this match was too, in St. Mary's, Georgia. I stood amongst the people as they walked out and saw their faces, and they were in shock, you know. As I talked to them, like I always like to do, ask the people, how did it go? Did you enjoy yourself? I always like to ask the people if they took pictures, so that they would send them into the Facebook pages so people can get a feel of what all the shows are like. And they were just quiet. It was a very different crowd leaving. check the match out. You'll understand what I'm talking about. But let's get back to Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk Jr. You know, those matches in the 70s came around once in a decade. You know, that match came around. You had another match. You had Terry Funk going against Jack Briscoe. Great match. Just about any match Terry Funk says is going to be a great match. But you know, these things came around. You know, in the 80s, Ric Flair, Rick Steamboat, a set of 3 matches, unbelievable, great match. You go back to Steve Austin, you know, going against The Rock. You know, when they matched up, great match. You know, there's so many great matches that I've enjoyed. Oh my gosh, how could anybody forget the Rock and Roll Express against the Midnight Express? You know, some of the greatest tag team matches you can see, which we desperately need now, some great tag team matches. So anyway, let me get back to the what's happening at Pro Wrestling Extra. Be watching for this great match. This John Davis Lance Alonte match is coming up. You know, I wholeheartedly can endorse this. I want everybody to look at it. If you see it, please share it with everywhere. We want to get this out because, in my opinion, this is one of the best matches I have seen in 2 to 3 years in the indie scene. This would hold up anywhere. It is a very brutal, hard-hitting, stiff match. The fans that were there in person that saw it immediately saw that going on. You know, immediately were impressed. You know, I wrote a review, and in the review I put there that one of the women in the audience started yelling, "Stop this match." You know, she was that much affected by it, you know. And I think everybody there was affected by it. They just couldn't believe how much punishment John Davis gave to Lance Alonte, and how many times Lance Alonte was knocked down that he got up. And it was just a great match, and I know you're going to enjoy it. And this is going to be the Wrestling Doctors vlog number 7 for Pro Wrestling Extra. And the Doctor's Prescription page, be sure to check it out. Also check out the interview page we have on there, where I sit down with individual wrestlers and we talk about how they got started in their career, what they hope to do in the future, and we just kind of talk like me sitting on their couches, and we kind of just knock it around a little bit. We also have our webcast that's up, where we show matches from all over Florida, Georgia, and we're hoping soon to go countrywide, picking up matches everywhere. So be watching for that. And of course, our Superstar Spotlight, who this month is the female wrestler Mischief, one of the top female wrestlers in the business today. Check that out on Pro Wrestling Extra. This is the Wrestling Doctor saying thanks.